You should know where the cameras are, by the way. One's over here, just by the corner of a little car. Shadow bias. You good? Cozy?
Yeah, I'm good.
Great. So
I got my peep behind my back, so I'm not just flopping.
make a beep. Where's the drinks? Ah. Oh my goodness, this grape juice is so sour. Ugh. Son of a Oh, hi, Matthew. Glad you could join us.
Better not be a reenactment of the blueberry lemonade.
It's not as bad. It's not as bad, that's for sure. Don't text him that. We're good. Don't worry. We're A-okay. Also, hi, Fluffy. So yeah, that maybe the juice was a tad bit strong. It's Yep. Anyway, hi, Striker. Makaser, Devante. Yep, it's. Where the heck did it? It's a camera. Where? Oh, there it is. Right. Okay. Hi, Reem. Nothing exciting today. It's another Monday. Mondays typically suck. We make the most of it.
Mm-hmm.
Put this funny thing down here. There we go. Hello, CQ. How are things? Things are doing alright. Quite swimmingly. It's yes. I think they want to know how your day went too, Vesper.
So far, woke up, got myself ready for stream, and now I'm here.
Right. Hold on. So we have the true ASMR experience. The wiper sound effect. So what's up? What's new? Commute core stream, right? Hey, I don't really see people doing this in VR chat. Always in IRL 1, so why not, right? Where are we driving off to, Vess? Definitely not a date. What do you mean, what do you don't know? We're going around. It seems that we've been reusing the same spots for streaming quite a whole lot, and you figured we'd go explore and see what's around. New places, new sights. Hello, Waffle. Are you all dating? Not right now. Yeah, Abby looks gorgeous now. I think your hair looks absolutely gorgeous, isn't it? 100% agree. Okay. A 15-day streak, huh? Look at that.
I'm not, of course.
She has to be there. I mean, she even does her best whenever she still has work. Commendable for the effort. Oh Lord, they're driving. Yep, yes, we are. Hmm. Is this the Lenore music? Yes. Well, you should know me by now. I like my whole, well, noir vibe going on. Well, albeit in a modern setting. You know, a little washed out, but we're still going and doing. We gotta live life after all. Give our best, despite existence being mediocre.
First,
Thanks, Fluffy. I appreciate that. Gosh. It was nice being able to hang out earlier, right, Vance? We dropped by and saw our friends. There was Fluffy, there was Exxon, there was Beth, surprisingly, and then Ard even dropped by. I think I don't have my shield settings enabled, that's why you were in red. But yeah. It was nice because I was able to. How do I say this? I was able to help improve their avatar stuff. I'm not really one for gatekeeping everything. If I can help improve somebody's looks, me, a big fan of aesthetics and proper composition, I would. If you know, you know. Avatar work while watching Avatar, precisely. Funny, isn't it? Here we are with the last airbender on the big screen, and then here I am, bending Unity and whatnot. A lot of us got into the Unity work on the spot, didn't we? Howler kept on crashing, unfortunate for him. But yeah, gosh. I don't know, I'm a fan more of the first Avatar than the second one. Or it was Korra. It was. Well, it was modern.
second.
Yes. But I think the whole classic journey, adventure, discovery story of the first one was better. Howler had some wild fist bones. Yes, that's true, Art. It was his toe, seemingly larger than the room we were at. Also, Art, thanks. I appreciate the support a lot. Hi there, Doran. Nice to see you. Oh. Oh, that's cool. It's an actual mirror. That's fun. That's awesome. So if I put this here. Ah, okay, got it. I know where the camera is now. It was the toes. That's odd. One of the funniest parts for it to be. It means Mr. Howler was fiddling with things. For things. How are you doing? I'm doing fine. It's just another Monday, so you know how it is. Exciting. Uh-oh. What did I press? Hello. And now I am somehow sideways from the car. Hi, chat.
Oops.
It's funny.
Lizard.
Let me turn around, get back. You know the button to reset your play space? For some reason that activated. My innocence gone.
Oops.
The illusion shattered. Happens. Lots of stream hiccups if you've been on my streams. What the heck is this music? Where's my old detective shit? If we rotate here, then we lock ourselves again. Here we go. Don't reset your play space while driving. Of course. The UI accidentally turned back on. But yeah, what's up with you guys? What's new? Been playing a whole lot of VR chat lately, or what? When are we back home? Patience, we'll get there soon. Jeez. Young girls nowadays. We're so quick and fast. I want McDonald's. There's some in the back. It's 3 days old, but McDonald's never expires anyway. Okay. I've been doing a lot of VR chat. You may be doing a little bit too much, but who am I to tell what a grown adult should do? You manage yourself. Hold on, can I improve the angle? Just barely. That's a nice empty road in front of you. Damn. The possibilities, right? If only we could like oh, I know, right? Holy depressed score, wait. You know, I like this. You see, Dorian here is just doing a balancing act. Physical health goes down, but mental goes up. Just like stats and any atypical RPG. Is the city visible in the distance? It sure is. It's over there. Also, I saw that you gave up on trying to guess the password. Too bad. You could have enjoyed what was in the server. Oh well. That gooey desert sands. It's 2 words. You don't need to add anything else. And if you read the message above, no edited messages allowed. You saw that? Oops. I mean, I am the server after all. I peruse through every tiny little detail that goes on. I missed out on the spider water. I don't think that's something Litz misses at all. But yes. But mountains. Firmino VRC says Wask was in the mountains enjoying some camping, but it's Monday, so back to VR we go. Nice. Hello, Bruce. What's the name of this world? It's called My Dream Car. It says it's a normal Monday situation here. Hoping I can get at least a few things done before the usual meeting slot. A few things done. Yes. Here we try and cram whatever we can with the little hours offered. It's ironic. Here I am driving, but you'll always just find me on the saddle of a motorcycle instead of an actual car. Like this thing. Hello, Fluffy. Oh, the other Fluffy 900. The actual Fluffy, I think, is busy. I'm not sure. He was most certainly here, though. He was giving us our gas money. Yes, you. Good-looking you. Motorcycles. Any specific model in particular? Again, I've been saving up for a bike from Honda. That's an adventure one. The Honda Africa Twin Adventure Sports DCT Edition. I'm getting there. Slowly but surely. I hope the cabin fever doesn't get to me first before the motorcycle starts to exist before me. Why did I look? Oh, you saw the videos in the... Yes, it is. It's a V-twin. You can see the spider water in the drive-thru chat. Ah, yes. I apologize for having that atrocity enrolled into the server. The one time I joined the group activity. Does it work? Never expected a driving stream in VR chat, did you? RGB says, and about the password, I did try 2 words, and in my defense, I was not the only one that was confused. You can always try again in 30 seconds, you know. I like it, it's sort of calming. It's nostalgic, isn't it? Like going on one of those long road trips with your parents back then. Also, Kaisi, thanks for dropping by. I remember you from last stream. Go get some proper rest. Anyway, stop somewhere. I need to pee. Stop somewhere. We're on the freeway. There's nowhere we can stop. You can always use the bag there in the back. Okay, get the bag. Get the little empty cup, the large one, or the popcorn bucket. Just pour it over. Be creative. You got this, Liz. Secondly, there's a seat to the side. Yeah. Do you see a shoulder in which we can park our car? Yeah, that's right. You overtake on the left, buddy, not on the right. Ugh. Anyway. Who said anything about parking? So Liz is gonna stick her bum out of the window and just make a rainbow. That's color yellow.
I don't think chat needed to hear about that.
Liz was insisting that she needed to go, so... You overtake whenever there's space. I do whenever I'm on my bike. On a car, though. Gosh, you know how heavy these things are when you go left and right? Hello, Grootty. Just a drink of my... There we go. Oh, shit. You should look in memes. Oh, Doran, did you finally see the inventory chicken? An actual video of it. Oh my. Ugh. It's grape juice. My goodness, is it sour? Ugh. I saw the inventory chicken. Great! Congratulations. That makes it fun. All the momentum you can carry. If we run over a 75 kilogram chicken, that's oddly biped, then. Wait, no, they are bipeds. Now that I think about it, yes. I shall stop. I don't think great is the right word for this. The inventory chicken. Ah. Right. Okay, Aries. Not how bad life advice redeems work, but I'll take one when I don't have to be the one thinking of stuff. The day begins, and so we have Mitzi here, who probably doesn't have enough sleep yet. Shit. You need to sleep some more. There's so many of these that I just lose. At that. Okay. Let's see what's happening over at my Discordium. Surprisingly, there's nobody over at the voice chat. That's odd. Oh my god, the Twin Tower. Nice. Mitzi says, I would love nothing more than a long nap today, but the meetings continue. You can do what I did. Back then in the office, I would always bring one pillow, like an actual bedroom pillow. And when there's nothing to do, I would nap in the break room. Just popping in to say hello before I hop on that strap. Have fun. What happened? You have so many games. You have Fallout Vegas, you have Borderlands 3 that you were talking about, but I don't see you ever playing it anymore. Enjoy. Death Stranding is a great game. I particularly love the atmosphere and the music. The work from home advantage covers that. Nice. Here you are with the proper attire on the top and just boxers on the bottom. You okay there, Vince?
I'm good.
Do you have
Just
any
a little
update?
laggy.
A little laggy. Oh no. Connection.
Wi-Fi.
If it's the wireless, that's not much we can do.
I'm good.
There. Should I keep it on? Let's keep it on. I like Vesper's jacket. Well, I like her jacket too. It's super cool, ain't it? Wait, there, so you can see it better. Our camera placement is a little limited thanks to our automobilistic constraints. But yes,
Yeah.
that's cute, right? She finally got her hair back. Just one quick walk through that anomalous door, and well, parts of the old came back. Fortunately, we can't go there a third time anytime soon.
Oh, well.
I think it looks great anyway. Does this mean I can actually do a just napping stream and pretending the car is on autopilot? So it makes sense. I see just sleeping streams, but the streamer is just on top of a bed. I mean, yes, you sleep on top of a bed, but it seems rather static, isn't it? At least here we have the scenery that changes constantly. There are sleeping streams, surprisingly, with hundreds of viewers. Mostly it's the more popular streamers, the ones that made it up there. And then they pretty much do anything in front of the camera, and then the people will watch. You could also nap on top of the car from Midnight Drive. Midnight Drive, that's true. That's another place that's very nice. But this one just feels more real. Geb's new sleeping while driving. Rocketing down the road. Yes. When I'm sleeping like this, and then all of a sudden it's just, huh? Did you run over something? Oh. I'll admit I'm new to Twitch. Actually, join to catch Geb's streams. Where did you come from, Levolp? Is that how you read your name? Levolp. Volpe. I call you Lee. Why is a speed bump screaming? I could have sworn there were more kids coming out of that bus or crossing the road. Lee will do. I actually found you through Instagram. So let me ask you something, Lee. What was the first clip that you saw on Instagram that got you hooked? I mean, from my thing. Watch this. There's also why driving assistance exists in some car. To help aim the car at you got me there at the first half. Same, to be honest. I've had Twitch for years, but didn't really use it. Until now, says Mr. Pesola. Well, I appreciate you sticking around. Imagine just people watching very mundane things such as this. Me sitting in some street. Me sitting before a campfire. Us chatting while we're in that restaurant bar. Us driving. I'm trying my best to encapsulate the slice of life when it comes to streaming. So I think Vesper is pretty much bored. Are you bored with what we're doing?
Nah, I'm good.
She's bored. Lee says it was the one that was testing the capabilities of FPT. Where I was sitting in 4K. I'm surprised why that video popped off. Of all my other videos, that wasn't even the best. I was like, okay, it got mildly popular. Lit says, drive and come visit me in my mansion on the private island. Oh, you mean the one that me and Vesper dropped by last time? Yeah, I remember that. Lots of glass and whatnot. It's pretty good.
Yeah, no beds, just one piano and a bunch of couches.
Oh, the piano, I kind of wish there was a more comfortable guest room for guest room things, but yes. Who are we to complain? We were just invited after all. Funny we had to go there via a very small boat. Just the tear of a rowboat. If only we could drive there by car, but alas. What's this? Phineas Former goes, oh, the scar framing is nice. A classy choice. A classy choice for a classy person. Well, I'm just joking. It's your typical everyday Monday drive to a rainy evening. So sit back and relax. Yes. Becoming a handsome billionaire. Sometimes at work, I think about giving it all up. For that, says Art. I mean, you would be surprised what you can do to entertain other people with money. Oh, dear Ard, can you combine yourself with this big unopened jar of pixels somehow? Oh, but that won't fit in my mouth. Oh, you don't have to put it in the place with bones. Here, 1 billion. Will the hospital cost, humiliation, and indignity be worth the money I receive? You know, the sad reality of this world, I think a vast majority of us will do anything for the right price. It's just how modern society is nowadays. With how tough everything is, expensive everything is. Can you really call that a system? Ah. Bold of you to assume I have any dignity, Gab. Oh gosh. Okay, Art. Looks like you can get rich really fast then, if you put your mind into it. Yeah. I guess then that comes into the discussion of, are you cheap or not? Right? What is your price for things? I'm not cheap. And then you give me like a chicken sandwich, and then I'm your best friend for the next hour. Are we there yet? Are we? We are not. So you're going to join us in this road trip for the next, well, for the next 2 hours. Yep, exciting. Second branch. It's kind of cool. Hi, Gib. This world looks quite nice. Kind of getting comfy vibes from this. Right, Reganex. Exciting streams are overrated, but that's what gets the views. Oh, chat. If you send me coins, you can shock me and I'm gonna go for your entertainment. Come on, you know that sounds right. Or it's gonna be like, and then subtitles start to appear below. And then I have a sexy, sexy e-girl Abby, and I just start dancing and swaying those double fist bones on one's chest. Bam! Hundreds of viewers. It says your stream time in the car is gonna be roughly around how long I have to drive back to the other. Oh, there it is. From Litz's point A to point B, Dream. Guys give me a headache. Always something wrong with them. maybe for you. Do you perhaps an oddly shaped head, or a head that is so large that it tips to left and right and back and forth from your shoulders? The car's momentum could influence that, well, magnify it. Hmm. Yes, sure was. A friendly reminder. It's actually raining, as you can see. So, there's that. You're gonna eat some bugs. Oh, Litz would know all about eating bugs, don't you, Litz? The wiper noise is strangely relaxing, isn't it? There's something you hear. The ambient metronome of the wiper going back and forth. Strangely comforting. You're the one who's educating me about the bugs, that's true. Very interesting berry looking things being cooked. Yes. Imagine a motorbike version. That would be cool if it could be done. I remember there being a video before that I posted. It was Vesper driving a Kettenkrad, and I was in the back. It's somewhere in my Instagram. The nice thing is I can just doze off to sleep and somehow the stream will still work. Perfect. I'll stream here more often then. Maybe like driving Mondays. Driving Mondays, campfire Wednesdays. And then on Friday it can either be visiting District Roboto Complex 7, being downtown. Downtown Fridays. Surprised you haven't tried ASMR content yet. Granted, it may be a little bit awkward. Well, you're not the first to suggest that, or wonder why I'm not in it. I've been given offers by that, in Twitter in particular. It's from a group or individual with a big following, saying, I see you doing ASMR really good. You're great at voice acting. I can offer you this and that. And the thing is, the topic would revolve around hypnosis. I'm like, okay, I'm great. I'm good. The thing is, chat, I'm not acting. I'm just me. So if you have to force me into a role, which I have to maintain consistently, I might start being awkward with it. And then I watch the videos. Okay, fine. Like, what's this hypnosis stuff? So it was the ASMR, like dominant. Oh, you're falling prey to the tone of my voice, and can you feel the hot breath running down your neck? And here you are, just wanting to obey, like stuff like that. It's like, oh my. Yeah, I politely decline. I'm not really one to collaborate with people I'm not familiar with. So I know it's a business opportunity. You network, you grow better, more people know you, but that's not my direction of growth, chat. I very much want to take control of the wheel and be very picky about the people I'm involved with. I'm not saying that everybody who's trying to collaborate with me are bad. I'm just gripping tighter to the saying of stranger danger than most. F says, just say if they give you a brand new 2025 Africa, I will do your 1 hour ASMR hypnotic video if you buy me that mic. I will read anything you want me to say, as long as I can say that it's not actually me. Yes. Oh, do you not like the dripping porridge seeping into your tongue? The umami and the freshness of the broth just engulfing your body in its deliciousness, the savory sensation just going from head to toe. Mm. Yeah. I still have not gotten paid from the shutdown. What? Oh, I thought things were sorted out, Bev. Oh, then again, here's wishful thinking of me thinking, oh, Gab, the government shutdown is no longer. And then you go to your office, there's a giant wad of cash just with your name on it. I've seen too many motorcycle accidents, no bike for me ever. I've been through 6 or 7 of them. I always walked away. Well, a few dings and scratches there, but nothing I can't heal from. If anything, it taught me to be more fearful towards the proper things and fearless to the others. Once you know how to crash, it's like, oh, I'm gonna wipe. Sadly, I cannot strong arm the government. Beth, I keep on telling you, I know you're gonna be pressured to move my oh so precious bar of necessity down here. Please, only when you can, alright? I know you have 25 yachts worth of savings that was involving 15 days of work, but still, money is precious. You can always make up for it on Wednesday, December. Yeah. Yay, late night drive. Oh, welcome to the stream. Hey. It's just me and Bess enjoying a nice little drive. Look at Vesper, she looks so cute. The lighting makes her look like she has chubby cheeks. She's happy and content after having her McDonald's.
Cook.
Oh my god. Well, I can't stop Beth when he wants to do things. Damn. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. My goodness, it makes this word trip worth it. Fantastic. This is probably the longest freeway I've ever been at. Thanks, Beth. Man. I think she's dead. No, she's not. It's been raining all week for me since Prince Kino, so I've been getting all those after work all week. Well, this drive will be most familiar to you then. You gotta come drive on the Autobahn, if I can even afford to visit Germany. I think I'm gonna finish the main campaign first. Main campaign meaning my country, I gotta explore every nook and cranny of it. And then once I have all the landmarks and waypoints on this big old island, and then I might consider exploring abroad. Maybe. Probably not. I'll still visit though if you're inviting. You see Vesper and I just eating all the fried rice that you're gonna cook. Oh ho ho. Thanks, Fluffy. Slowly but surely, we're getting to the destination. It would be funny if we could somehow have like, you see this empty space on the screen. So we're gonna have like a little loading animation of how close we are to actually getting to our destination. You know, in games, how there's a little like pixelated run cycle and then loading. He says if you go to Germany, you gotta visit the Nordschleife. Though, then, what's that? Could we stop by some food? No. Eat the candy that's probably been staying at the backseat pocket for 3 months. It should tide you over, Wask. Wait, hold on. We need some proper music. Now, I think this is the time we start exploring things. Hold on. What's the second best thing to do in a car? A sound trip. So let's see what we got. There we go. Better driving music. We have food at the destination. Here's your food. It's not to drink. Respecting. Whoops. Ah. Yes. Oh yeah. One of these days, I'm gonna invite my friends to just hang out in this world, and then we're gonna play music here. Pretend we're an actual road trip. Yes. You doing good there, Maud?
I'm good.
Oh no, the viewer count dropped. They don't like children. Okay, fine. Let's play something that befits the thing. You get sleepy when sitting in the back of the car. Oh, I do. Really do. Especially when you put your head by the glass and then just... The funniest thing is, have you tried when you stick your head on the glass of a car and your ears start to itch really bad? You know, that sensation. I'm the always one driving,
It's
so
a
most
weird
of the time.
sensation.
It's a weird sensation. Just wanna.
well, of course, I'm normally the one getting to sleep in the back, anyways, because I'm
It does.
in a family of 5. So we have like a minivan, of course, because you've got to hold 5 people.
Uh-huh.
So, dad in the driver's seat, mom in side passenger, my twin and my younger sister in the middle, and then I have the back all to myself.
Wow. You know, look at all that luxury, the space.
It's because they don't want to sit in the back because it sucks.
It sucks. Right. Hmm. Alright, back to exploring crap. Late night doom or jazz. Oh wow, okay. 100% gonna fall asleep. The sound of the pitter patter outside from the rain, the whoosh of the vehicles, the wipers, 100%. Did I not notice that? Litsa says one time I was driving my cousin back to our place from visiting his friend, and it was pouring and getting dark, and I couldn't see shit, like zero. But he was just sleeping next to me, like we're dilly dally on a flower field or something. He has a beautiful mind. Oh, escape to some other place. I love rain and fog driving, to be honest. It's really something. Going and exploring outside with your vehicle surely is something. Just the destination, the road, the wind, and you. You get more excited about the little gas station stops more than anything. You stand up, you stretch, you go check out what's being sold. From cheap Slurpees to probably age-old bottles of soda or whatever preferred drink or choice that you wish to pick up. Let's not forget the bag of chips. Then we have the gas station hot dogs. We don't know for how long they've been rolling up and down, up and down. Lucky the bread isn't moldy. Gas stations, huh? Sometimes they're really nice. They're new, they're premium, air-conditioned bathrooms. You have a guy constantly mopping and tending to the usual aromatic balance that should be in the air. Air freshener here, cleaner there. Immaculately clean toilet seats. I love those. Just like I'm in a hotel. And then you have the really crummy bathrooms. The ones from The middle of nowhere. Ill maintained. The bowl probably doesn't have water in it, or just the bare minimum. And worst of all, it doesn't come with toilet seats. Here you have the toilet bowl. Whenever you try to sit down, if you can't squat like a frog, it's going to engulf your buttocks. Pray tell, certain parts doesn't touch the inner ceramics. It's like cave diving, except you dive too deep and you hit the ground, but you don't die. Only on the inside. To the guys out there, imagine your tea bags just hitting the water. And it gets soaked. Yeah. Or have you ever heard of Poseidon's kiss? Ah, here you are, there's water in the toilet bowl. Plop. And so, thanks to physics, water decides to go jump back up and give you said kiss. Uh, yeah. Dude, I choked at work because I can't laugh out loud. You know what I mean, though, right? Oh, God. Here you are. You're trying your best. It's like operating a crane in a construction. You know, those big, tall things. And then you're lowering the cargo down. But all of a sudden, the cable snaps. And then Poseidon's kiss on your second set of lips. Unfortunate. God. The one free shared water that you are 100% not supposed to drink. It's as if for that brief moment you're connected with the entire city's sewer system. You're connected with everybody else. It's sort of like being in a neural network, a hive mind, except you're connected by bathroom pipes and toilet water. The interface being the bowl that you're sitting on. An amazing thing to think about, actually. Waffle Cow says yes, it's not pleasant. At least it's getting washed up right after the drop. That's the worst part. It's because sometimes whatever was dropped returns too. Especially when it's the lemonade mix that comes back, not the nice crystal spring water that you expect. Poseidon's kiss, so like a discount bidet, and it leaves you dirtier instead of cleaner. Yes. Just car conversations, Lance. Something to pass the time and crunch the miles. Lee says I have you know I'm lucky there aren't any customers coming in. Imagine coming in to check in at your hotel and see your receptionist red-faced and giggling. Oh, that's me. I probably would have been fired a long time ago if my boss wasn't chill. He would walk in. Here I am in my old advertising agency job, right? Cubicle, my computer in the corner. And to my right, my best buddy at work. Best buddy means meme buddy. Meme buddy means we're not the most productive pair. But anyway, here I am. I'm showing him, hey, look at Dan. His name is Dan. Dan, look at this. And then we see something funny on Instagram, right? Like a rather rotund fellow with his pants hanging low. And then I told him, I bet if I had enough precision, I could throw a coin and it would just slide in the middle. And like it's a piggyback. And then we would laugh like we were crying. And then the boss just walks in all of a sudden. And he says like, oh, ayos yan ah. Like, oh, that's nice. It's like, yeah, but yeah. And he would laugh and pat our backs and say, as long as you get the job done, okay? And yes. As long as we get the job done and there's no clients visiting the office. Now that I think about it, I miss that workplace. Just like school and high school and college, I would go to work not only for the money, because I was looking forward to my coworkers and the little shenanigans and lollygags that we could get up to. One of the times we had a lunch break. Lunch breaks are normally just 1 hour. Noon. No, we decided to walk to the mall nearby and went to the arcade, part of a, what's the proper term? Getting our minds in a productive state again, because we're in a creative rut. So we went to the arcade, had little purikura, the pictures you could print in the Japanese booths, and 3 hours and a half later, and our wallets lighter because it was a card-based arcade, we went back to the office, in which we had to go home an hour later and say, oh, that was a great day. Also, that's cool that your boss wasn't mean. Yeah, he was the kind of boss who understood how the minds of the creative team would work. We're not office drones that you can just tell, okay, I need this output at this hour. And you must sit in your computer and like do something. No, that's not how the creative team works. Sometimes we have to go to the rooftop of the building, like, cross our arms. The older members would smoke their cigarettes. Some would play their guitar and then discuss, all right, how do we make this funny thing for the bank, which is our client? And then creative stroke of idea. And then we all rush down and then we go to work. It's nice. It was a process that worked. Also kept the stress light. Imagine if me and Litz were co-workers, right? Here we are, receptionists in front of a hotel that isn't frequented by a lot of people. Here I am on the left and Litz is on the right. Obviously, we have our phones plugged and tethered to the wall by a chart. I'm like, psst. we would get balked by the boss a whole lot. Yeah. Yeah. And then here is let's look. I bet she's over 600 pounds. It's bad. It's so bad. I can't stop myself whenever in the proximity of a friend. My brain cells reduce to singular digits. I could never work there in peace. Yeah, that's not gonna happen. Not with me around, at least. There's a camera above the front office. Ooh. Oh, goodness me. You know, when you enter a state of just humorous retardation with your friend, you're in such a state where you have tears in your eyes already from the memes. You've recovered, right? And then somehow later during the day, you reenact a little thing, itty bitty little thing with body language, and it reminds them of the meme. And then you start cackling and exploding into laughter again and say, "Stop, please! Oh God, stop!" Yes, that's when you know you're in the good times. You just die laughing, precisely. The more you're supposed to stifle your laughter, the funnier it is. Go eat your dinner, Liz. I'll see you around. Thanks for dropping by. Lee says not with me around, he says. Usually I'm the one who people gotta remind not to be serious. Let's see. Good that you have a funny bone in your body. Oh, if you were in the Discord, Lee, you would... There is no shortage of humorous postings and tirades, conversations. Every day it's something funny in general chat or in the memes or the media, poking fun at one another in the community. I just ate and now I'm fighting off sleep. But go enjoy your food. We are 1 hour in on our road trip. This feels so strange. Yeah, where's that going? All right, Lee, let me help you a little bit. 1, no edited messages, right? 2, you need to type the password as it is written. How it is formatted, how it's capitalized, how it is your eyes see it. Okay? If you get the spelling wrong the first time, you have to type a new message again. It's funny, I have hundreds of members in the Discord that managed to guess the password. It's not even guessing because it's right there. I apologize in advance for any potential spam failed transfer. Remember, you're talking to a bot, not a person. A bot wants nothing but the correct answer. There's no reasoning with it. It's freezing here and snowing in the coming days, says Persona. I see. Matthew says, I just finished gym and my hands are noodles. So quiet and chill. Matthew, there's one exercise I'd like you to do, and that's hanging off the bars and just letting your body straighten itself. So your scoliosis is gonna go like that, right? And there you are, 8 inches longer. Taller. Yep.
It can help with spine alignment, but I'm not sure it's gonna do that.
You just tie enough weights in your legs, eventually it's gonna straighten up. You should have measured your height after. Also, I'm proud of you, Matthew. I'm glad you got your exercise in. Hello, Boop. It pops to 22 or 25. The temperature here, it's a nice balmy 27 to 30 plus. Usually 35 degrees Celsius. And then humidity at 80% or more. Remember, I live in the equator, the hottest part of Earth. Matthew says, even Geb has his license and I don't. This is a call of attention to my procrastination to make my exam. You need to get your license, good sir. If only we were neighbors, Matthew, you and me, we would be going everywhere on a little scooter. A motorcycle. Matthew, let's play VR chat later. Let's go drive and get some coffee or lunch by the mountains. It's just an hour away. That's hot and not in a nice way. Welcome to the Philippines. We're walking outside, simulating how it is inside a slow cooking oven. One of the reasons I had to let go of my previous bike, the Kawasaki Versys 1000, was because it was an inline 4 one, right? So 4 cylinders, very wide engine, very hot engine. Would always be hovering at 95 degrees Celsius or 90. Yeah, the Africa Twin has no such heat issues. I gotta get on a new task at work, says Striker. Y'all have a good rest of the stream. Thanks for keeping my mind pleasantly occupied on a lazy Monday. I'll see you around, Striker. Thanks for dropping by, and thank you last time during stream for the itty bitty show of support. I appreciate you for that. Inline 4 engines are smooth, sexy. Did I say smooth? But also very hot. Yes. You see, Jack, I like mine quiet when I ride them. Right. It obeys my commands, a twist of the throttle. Snappy. It gets me there. But not so noisy. Not too hot between the legs. And I have a good suspension too for the bounces and the little ruts and potholes. Versus was just too heavy for it. Also, thanks, Boo. I like her tall. You see, the ground clearance of the Africa Twin is higher than most bikes. The Versys very low. You'd sooner hit a jutting out rock or a little log or branch in the road that is medium to large in size, and it would scrape the underbelly of your machine. Not ideal when you have the exhaust port right there. Or worse, your oil pan gets cracked. Gosh, Boop with Prime. Nice, thank you. Suspension is important for the old back. Not crack. No, not to mention a properly wide seat with an equally soft cushion. We don't want your bum dying after just 2 hours of sitting down. See how General is doing. Wahoo, finally catching a stream, says Akairo. Hello, Akairo. Welcome to the stream, the live versions of the things I do. And you too, Taylor. Why not use a dirt bike and drive all season? True, not the most comfortable thing during long hauls, though. Coming from a dirt bike rider. Sorry if I'm boring you with technical talk again, Maud.
You're good.
I guess we just talk so much outside of the stream, there's no conversation left in front of people.
Well, I'm not really big on vehicles or bikes anyway, so I don't really have much to share about bikes anyways.
That's okay, no worries about it.
So I'm sitting to the side and listening. Don't sweat it.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, Chad, me and Vesper, you pretty much are attached by the hip, if you're not able to tell. My adventures are her adventures.
More than happy to tag along.
Until she starts getting bored, that is. What's this? I'm sitting next to my dog and putting it on fire. I'm sorry, it was a bit blurry. I'm sitting next to a fire and playing with my dog. I see. Alright. Hope you guys are having fun. Negative 30 degrees Celsius, huh? That's what you call cold. Hmm. God, this drive is really nice, actually. I don't feel awkward just sitting still, not doing anything, or having long pauses between the conversations. Feels natural. Pretty cool. So, Mr. Pisola is from Finland. Nice. Comfortable silence, right? And you don't always have to talk while you're driving anyway. More often than not, here you are with your companion falling asleep most of the time. But, from what I understand, people in the front also fluffy. Thank you so much. Always. Always. Another day, another clutch not burned. So yes, normally, whenever you have somebody in front of your car, they are assigned to keeping the driver in focus, awake. Sometimes they're the one managing what's playing on the radio, or navigation more often than not, or handing the snacks over from. They're assigned to the driver's side. Or looking for coins whenever you need to pay something outside of the window. Yep.
Yep.
Hello, Alex. Hmm?
Yeah, usually when it comes to car trips with Dad, he'll just hand me his wallet, like, okay, here, you keep this safe so it doesn't go toppling around. I put it in my bag and say, we need to stop for food or something. Hey, V, can you hand me my wallet real quick? And all that. So yeah, that is very true. Keeping the driver awake, snacks, money, whatever else is needed.
I could go with some snacks right now. The rats. I did eat a shawarma for dinner earlier, but that's probably 7 hours prior. I'm gonna go eat after stream.
Yeah.
I think I still have some Chinese over at my freezer that I can go defrost and put over some nice rice. Lee says, yes, comfortable silence is pretty cool, to be honest. So many people think silence in a group call was bad, but it's part of the fun. No. If anything, silence lets you collect your thoughts. And if you would dare to be the preferred other, it usually builds up tension. Tension for things where you can plan and execute and let happen. The whole, I wonder what they're thinking. Your mind tends to wander when it's quiet. Knox says I feel guilty falling asleep when there's only 2 people. Also, hi, Knox. That's true. Sorry, Uncle. I always used to fall asleep when you were the driver. Sheesh, the toll modes here are brutal now that you mention coins. Oh yeah, the tolls are very expensive. Like in any place. Put this back on.
Yeah, toll booths can be pretty expensive nowadays. Thankfully, we've got this sort of thing in our car, I guess, with a sensor in it. So, like, say we pass state lines and there's a toll to pay, it just sort of sends the payment automatically, I guess, to the bank.
I see.
So
Yeah.
we don't have to stop and talk to anyone, just drive on through.
Same here. Now we're not accepting cash. We're all going cashless. So you gotta have your little RFID sticker on front of your vehicle's headlights or in my bike, my windscreen. And yeah, you can just, it comes with balance. You can preload and then you just drive through and then the arm of the gate just goes up. Nox says I've been a bit of a lurker this stream. Been busy getting my friends killed on Ark. Well, have fun. Remember, shoot first, team up later. Lee says, yeah, that's pretty cool. Same here. We do still do cash though in cards. I hope they're not as ludicrously expensive here. I remember there being a really short route. I think it's 2 kilometers, and we had to pay $2 just to pass the gate. So the 2 kilometers saves you 20 minutes of travel time because it's so traffic and delayed. The worst one here is 4 euros for a yeah, no, that's super cheap. God, here is, well, how long was it? I think 50 kilometers was $12. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that, but it was expensive. Persona says, I whisper no snow because I drive trucks for a living. It always makes days longer and slower. Oh, I can imagine. 1, you can go as fast, and 2, you gotta be super careful, or else you're gonna zzz, and then make a red smear of kids crossing the road. Whoops. It was the black ice, ma'am. It was the black eyes, Your Honor. I can't control nature. My cat is next to me asleep. So warm, so comfy. Ugh. Yes, I just had some of my really sour grape juice. I wonder where I got so much darn blue. Undesper barely has any. Look at her, she's fine. That's the best way I can describe it. GoPro view. Interesting, but I don't think it's really. It really puts into perspective the motion that's going on around, though. From Chet Baker.
She was too good to me. How can I get along now? So close she stood to me.
This has become a Disney movie with the sound. Hi, Matthew. Welcome to my road trip. I'll probably do this every Monday. It's either every Monday or Wednesday, where it's hump day. Then Friday, we do the downtown ones. Conversations in the car are a little bit different. Oh, I have to time this to when Vesper's here, so probably Mondays is one way drive. Downtown, it can be the company of the bonds.
She'd never say go away now.
Lee says, used to work as a delivery driver for a few years. Kudos to your patience.
Who's gonna make me
Delivery driver.
now?
Matthew says, from Disney movies in cooperation with Pixar comes with the big screen road trip. A trip you wouldn't miss. Huh. Man. If I had a movie, I wonder what it would be titled as. Come on, chat. Let's give me some ideas. The trailers make it extra big with the extra wheels and length. Reversing must be difficult. I could never figure out how the truck drivers do it. The long chat. So the entire sequence is just shot of me inside a vehicle talking. The long chat. And even longer Mondays.
I was a king to her. Who's gonna make me gay now? It's only natural.
That would be a BAFTA nominee in French cinemas. Gosh, I actually really like watching not mainstream films. I don't remember the titles of any of them though. Are we there yet? How was dinner, Litz? Did you finally get? Oops! Did you finally get what you wanted? It's a bird's POV before colliding with the screen. This just go straight to the windscreen and then like Free food, I suppose. It's like, ooh, look, there's a bunch of kids crossing the road. And I see, ah, shoo. Yeah. Free food with added salmonella. Fluffy saw what I did. Yep. Another kid. Anyway. Remember, kids are 10 points, the old lady 15. That was a strange bump. Yep. No, actually, it should be like 2 bumps. Yeah. One in the front, one in the back. Lady with the stroller counts as double. Gosh, so grim. Are we going the right way? Does Vesper have Google Maps open? Fairly certain she's navigating properly.
About as best as I can. I mean, does the agency ever give us proper maps?
Yeah. Says here's your map right here. What? Give me your phone and then it opens Waze. Yep. I mean, not incorrect though. Waze, Google Maps. What movie genres would you want a movie about you to be? Oh, simple. Sci-fi, mystery, suspense. On the flip side, I also want to be in a slapstick comedy, like Naked Gun, if you've ever heard about it. It's all about the crass, offensive humor for me. You like the jokes that's going on in chat with the kids being disappointed and yeah. What's this? So discussion in general goes with Blue Wall hunting to go farm points. He likes pineapple on pizza, but not mushrooms. I like everything on pizza. Ooh, mushroom cream. That's good. Maybe I'll make another, says Fluffy. Gab, what's the worst accident you've been in? I think it's the one that sprained my ankle. So here I was testing my little dirt bike, and there was a very convenient ramp up a bridge in my neighborhood. It was short, maybe like 5 meters. And I was airborne. I twisted the throttle a bit too hard. I flipped backwards. My bike flew here, I flew there. I ended up underneath a nice old big van. And I had to crawl my way out, like, oops. Yes. And I saw an old lady next to me say, okay. I'm like, yeah, is this your van? Yes. I'm like, oh God, I'm so sorry, ma'am. I said, there's no worry about it. Just help me fix it later for $6. And then we ended up conversing while I had like scrapes and bruises, which she was tending to. She had this cotton swab and betadine solution, first aid, antiseptics. She even gave me some of her, if I not recall, a bit of her pie, whatever it was. I think it was coconut pie. And we ended up conversing about her garden, which was just across the street. And she was asking, is your bike okay? No. I can still push it home, though. So, yeah. That was fun. That was, I don't know, 7 years ago? It's just one of many incidents of me being rather friendly with the road.
Thankfully, it's not you're getting your own rear handed to you by the road, though. Like the
That's
one time you
true.
wrapped around a sign, pretty much.
Okay. So, okay, but listen, all the accidents I had were pretty closely tied to each other. I fell off a cliff, well, not a cliff, but into like a clearing, a bush. I made another scooter fly because I rear-ended it, but that's where this one accident I had, where I was speeding and said scooter was in front of me. I didn't know it was slow. I was focusing on the guy on my right. He was racing me. He was a little prick. And I can't let the prick win. So here I was, being an irresponsible driver, going 3 digits on a 2-digit zone. And, well, let's just say me hitting a vehicle slower than me made me flip like that. And then into the island in the middle of the street where there was a pole, right? Like a signpost. My body, these are my legs, flew like this. And then I folded in half like a paper clip and then like slid down. Thank goodness I didn't damage the pole. Of course, I had to pay for the hospital fees for the lady on the bike that I rear-ended. It was just a little bruise on the shoulder. And a ding on her muffler that I had to replace. I was okay. I had my gear on. It was my wallet that took the beating. And I was in the police station filing the report. They were like, man, do we really have to do this report? You know how much paperwork you're giving us from that little stunt of yours. So we're gonna give you a violation, okay? Or, we can just help each other and you give us all the fees for processing it and we can skip all the headaches and you go home free, no problemo, on your license. How much? $60. Yeah, of course. Here you go, officer. And then yeah. Hey, I saved them the trouble. I was gonna pay $60 anyway for my traffic violation of reckless driving. And it didn't reflect on my license. It was a win-win. If I went through the whole process, they would have to file a lot of paperwork. They have to summon me again. I have to go to like City Hall and so much. Got off easy. So yeah. Interesting times. I think that counts as some wild battle. Don't mind me, I'm just going to my Spotify. If you know where this is from, you get plus 1,000 points. Yes. Oh my god, it's the first one. Yep. Time is flowing rather slowly. Probably gonna be there in 39 minutes. And then we have a little game that we're gonna play later, right, Liz? Hopefully Beth's home by then. It's you, me, and the Fluffy. I mean, we can try a 3-man. Thanks. Oh, I will remember by Toto. Don't put grapes in microwaves. What is going on in general? One time while visiting the Philippines as a Cairo, we were driving north to Ilocos and our driver got stopped for some reason by an armed guard and my mom casually leaned over, called them anak, and bribed them to let us through. I was baffled having grown up in Hawaii. That's normal here. Something about revolutionary tact. Sometimes you're going to see rebels run up to them in the more remote areas of my countries. And, normally, a small fee of $10 is more than enough to make them safeguard your passage. Better not to be able to afford Starbucks for the day than have a big headache coming from armed people. Oh. Spent track. Unfortunately, bribing people is just the norm. That's a bribe. You can always bribe me with food, says Litz. Of course. I think same here. It's a weakness of both of us. If you can be bribed by food.
Especially if it's good food.
Right? No. Man, Vesper's just so pretty. Really? You know you can see in person, right? How about we go super duper mini hangout after stream hits? Of course. They wouldn't be Oh, hold on. You are not at the home. I guess the best compromise you can do is. Yeah. Have a good view, Vesper. Vesper cam initialized. Don't be shy. It's where Liz. She likes.
Yep. Hi.
This feeding camera is shy.
Because it's pointed at me strictly, not at both you and me.
I know, well, they wanted to have a better look, so of course they wanted to indulge. Fine. Yeah, chat, that's premium time apparently, so. She's super cute though, right? Give me food and I'll do anything, says Boo. Anything?
Should I be concerned?
Is that from Incredibox? Yes. Let's thank you for finally recognizing where it was from. You didn't like that world too noisy, where you had to put the music things.
Yeah, it got pretty noisy.
Thing is, it stems from a Flash game that we used to play way back then. That's why. It was more nostalgia than anything for me. And much to my surprise to see it still working to this day and still having new stuff was wow.
Well, people still like it, and there's still content being made for it and all that by different people.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, we found a world with some sort of Five Nights at Freddy's thing to it, right?
That's true. It had the FNAF one, didn't it? Also, I look like a ghost, don't I? Exactly how I wanted to present, like a shadow ghost. Ooh, I haunted the car here earlier. Ooh, ectoplasm.
You're corporeal enough for me to smack.
Yes. Which Flash game? It's called Incredibox. That one Litius time. And I want to listen to this track. Let me listen to the somber track and then we'll swap to something more jazzy. Ah. Skybox change. God, what a mood. Oh, that guy just swerved. Okay. Why would you go to the middle lane and then back to the... Okay. Ah, Christmas. So close. Take a picture of the plate. It was too fast. I wish I could have, Matthew. Oh well. What's your favorite video game and why? It's a tough one. I know I cited some before, but maybe Nier Automata or something like that. I don't have one particular super favorite game. It's per category, really. Like my favorite strategy game, my favorite action game. Co-op games definitely gotta be Helldivers. I'm having a whole lot of fun with Vesper here. You're hogging the middle lane. It's not far from the driver's here, says Lee. Follow him and show him your finger. Yeah, so you just go. They hydrate, huh? Alright, let's listen to this thing. Goodness. Now, there's the music we are all familiar with. Guess it doesn't work. Damn, we've been driving so long, the sun's starting to rise. Already 2 hours, huh? That's so quick. Gosh.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, and there's a city. Bob is giving the verify a second try.
Don't get distracted
Whoa.
while driving.
Damn. Jeez, Small. You're the one who's gonna get me to a crash. Dropping bits like that. But thank you so much. I appreciate it. The more money that's thrown my way, the safer the driveways are. Oh, God, it's that car again. You saw nothing. You saw nothing. I love your outfit, Vesper. Your avatar always looks so pretty, says Moss.
Thank
Come on.
you.
She's super 10 out of 10, right? I like how I like the balance, the package. It's like a sandwich, but a clubhouse. All the toppings are just right, and it's just as filling. The others put too much like mayo or greasy things on top. It's excessive. Most people like it. Not me. I like things nice and properly balanced. As things should be. I think Vesper likes rocking her new look too. It's the eyes in particular, Chad. It's captivating, is it not? Jeez, I was getting compliments. She's very camera shy though. She's just trying her best to put up a brave front. But know that she appreciates your words all the same. So let the compliments flow. Why, if it isn't Libby, greetings from you in TikTok. Not miss me already? I still post my clips there. Huh?
Hi.
You're bored. See, she's bored. She's bored of the driving. 30 minutes. We're gonna be there in half an hour.
I know. Don't sweat it.
Give her a tablet to play on. Just let her play Candy Crush or Plants vs. Zombies. Yeah.
I can't stand Candy Crush.
Oh god, the OST has been so ingrained in my head too. All the ba 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 bum bum ba ba bum ba ba bum. Oh god, I got so addicted to that thing when it first came out. It's like, oh god. Specific 2 ways. Give her a tablet. Yep. Definitely. We're doing okay. We're just having a little bit of a drive, nothing fancy. Weather's not perfect, but at least it's nice and cool. Gotta break that record on Subway Surfers. One of my favorite games back then on my smartphone was Hill Climb Racing. So it's where you control this vehicle that's it's so much fun. What was the longest drive you had to endure? As a rider, probably 11 hours in the van. As a rider, it was 5 hours and a half on a motorcycle. I had to go somewhere north. Hill climb racing was a childhood. Oh, right. Ding, 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 ding. Yeah. Man. How are your legs and butt after 5 hours of driving? You see, when you drive on a motorcycle, you sort of just zone out. It's as if, I don't know if with a car, I've never really drove a car. So, it just becomes automatic. It becomes relaxing. As you go up and down the gears and whatnot. But after like 2 hours or 2 hours and a half, I have to stand up, go to the gas station, go pee, go hydrate, go get some blood flowing back to your buttocks 100%, stretch the good old vertebrae. Oh, Striker wants to join the guild now, I see. Alright. Genki likes to be your friend. Of course! Token Fox wants to join the guild. Who is this? Start to read the profile. View profile. Coptic, he, him. Dancing better than Furry Gintain. Is vibing cars. Asking. Age 78,860. Okay. I know Verplex, Nasi, Whiskey Dingo, Gebos, Andre. Whoa, the name dropping. I don't know. We've never even met. How do you know me? If you try to add me as a. Okay. Chat, not to sound rude or anything. If you and I never interacted, please don't tell people we know each other. Yeah. I could never let my mind wander when driving. Everyone else on the road makes me too paranoid. Listen, I'm a Filipino driver. I'm trained to avoid super hell dive difficulty road obstacles and hazards. So whenever it's a nice freeway, I can drive with my eyes closed. I know Corgi Cam, Bardic RG. I have even Filian, yeah, buddy. No, don't name drop. No, nada. Sorry, buddy. Okay, let's see the next one. I have 43 friend requests. Christopher wants to be your friend. Let's see their profile. Alright. The puppy of. Alright, skip. Next. Ura would want to be your friend. Face tracking. Okay. Well, they seem nice. Oh, decent fellow. What did I... The roads and drivers in Manila fear. Here's the thing. Yeah. When I saw how it is driving in Europe, in America, I'm like, what is this? Why is there nothing on the road? Why is it clear? Why does people obey traffic rules? Here, no, you'd sooner get a stray dog, a granny, a grandpa, or a bunch of kids with, with snot on their nose chasing after a ball crossing the street. Or you get tricycle drivers with no licenses, bus drivers, jeepney drivers. Gosh, always so much trouble. What's this? I'm seeing a whole bunch of numbers. It seems Max Fluffy has decided to raid us with a whole bunch of people. Goodness, hi, welcome to the drive. It's Monday, so we're in the car. Let me go read the messages. Ooh, that's a lot. My goodness gracious. Hi, I'm Kip. This is Vesper. She's my moderator, and she's staring off into space. She's actually just really bored sitting here.
Staring off into spaces and reading the comments.
That's true. That's
right over here.
But yes, welcome to the chat. What were you guys up to? I see that with the amount of people that has joined, you guys were doing something fun, weren't you? We are chat per chance. What time is group kissing? What? The only thing you can kiss is my butt. Fluffy says, was just doing some talkies. Ain't it just chatting stream? Well, that's what I do here too. Because I'm not talented enough to do the funny shocks or the dances like the top row of the VR chat category is. Mm. But yes. Well, Fluffy, thank you so much for the rain. I know, usually when people go rain, they go tired, so I'll not hold it against you if you got a skedaddly do. You go grab your drink, your food, your rest, or if you're gonna go to bed, go to bed. Same goes to you, chatters. Goodness. Wow, well, that's certainly something, Twilight yelled. Okay. Well, I'm back reading through all of the chat because it just started flooding, so there we go. I have caught up. Now, where were we? You you sound like a narrator. No, I'm nothing special. I'm just Kim. I just spend the time usually chatting on stream. Not usually, that's all I do in all actuality. I go chat, I sit. We usually have topics which are grounded in real life situations and whatnot. And I always have jazz playing in the background. I try my best to make things cinematic. Well, I think VR chat's full potential is underutilized as it is. Akairo says, I've been seeing your videos on Insta for a while, and your voice is just so soothing. The flattery. Thank you so much. You'd make a good alternative to the narrator, Baldur's. I don't hold a candle. Isn't the narrator a girl? What's this? Oh, it's Fluffy. Of course. Well, thanks, Fluff. It's always nice when the periodic drop happens. It's like a little bits of motivation, right? I actually think I like that more than just one big giant chunk, and then they never show up again. It's like an hourly wage. Lisa said, come on. She's a gal, but she's got a captivating voice. Absolutely, that's what I meant. I hold no comparison to how fluent she is with her words. Besides, English is not my first language. It's my second. Give me a moment as I check general. It seems the community is still right to farm points. See, Doran here is starting to go type things in reverse. Right. Lee says that I'm being too modest. You do better than you think, I think. I have never done any professional stints involving voice acting. I've been getting the suggestion for many, many months now. How do I even start? And what would I even achieve when here I am in a pool that is already saturated with a lot of self-proclaimed voice actors? So, I'll not really ever call myself a voice actor, but if you think I sound pleasant, then let me let you know that the compliments still reach me. Thank you. I don't get it. Some people call themselves voice actors, but they've Like in what? A video game? A TV series, right? If all you did was dub some doodle for your friend, I wouldn't really call you a professional voice actor. I mean, really, I think we throw around the title too loosely.
Like, do you mean you can just do a voice impression of a certain character?
Right. So if you can do voice impressions, some people immediately call themselves voice actors. That's not it. A voice actor means you've been professionally employed by a studio over something that's aired commercially. Right? Be it video game, a show, a movie. But if all you can do is, right, silly impressions, don't call yourself a voice actor. Ah, of course, it's Dorito chips. You're making me really want some. Imagine if we just had Doritos
That's.
right now. Like,
Yep. Yes, I think we didn't have the chat with how much crunching's going on.
like that one time I was eating on stream and you wanted some too, yes. Of course. You see, when it comes to food-related approachables, that's you, Mox. I mean, all I gotta do is go to our DMs in Discord, scroll up a bit. Okay, groceries, food, cheese. That's like considered Dorito ASMR. Dorito ASMR. Look, just because I have a DM out. A DM out. Speaking of tea, I was talking about the Poseidon's Kiss whenever you would go into the gas station bathrooms. Now here you are hurriedly trying to go drop your parcel, knocking on the door which is the bottom of the bowl. Unfortunately, you dropped the parcel a tad bit too fast for physics to go stop it from bouncing the water back up from where it came from. Poseidon's Kiss. That's the water. Oh, yes. It's kind of funny to think about, really. Tester's expression. Has that ever happened to you, Vess? Have you had Poseidon's Kiss? Were you blessed by the god of toilet water?
I hate it.
That confirms it, Chad. She hates it, hence it happened. You see, that's why there's weight limits to parcels. You might, whoops, it dropped, and there's a big old splash. Anyway, hello, Zion Zeta. Following for Poseidon's Kiss, back to work. Good luck at your work, Zion. Thanks for dropping by and for the follow, too. Here's Geb again with quite literally toilet humor. What can I say? Let's says we got the fireplace up and running. It's so nice and cozy. Wow, perfect for Christmas. Now, how does that go again? Fireplace, chestnuts roasting in the open, and nutmeg or what? Filipino Christmases are a bit different. What we have is a whole lot of soft drinks, meals of all sorts of varieties. Roast chicken, roast pork, the lechon, we have spaghetti, we have carbonara, we have barbecue, both in skewer form and like just the pork chops. We would have fruit salad, we would have Christmas ham. There's so much. Queso de bola. How can one forget the queso de bola? Of course. In some households, what they do is they get a hot dog, they put it on a stick, and then there's a marshmallow on the tip. Christmas starts at September. Same here. When it's like the Burr months, I consider the whole thing like a graduation towards Christmas. I love Christmas season, Jan. That's why I permanently have my little Christmas tree in my pantry app. I can like grab, there we go. You'd need to try the Swedish Christmas beverage, says Moss, lovingly known as Jalmost. Is that how I pronounce it correctly? It's a tradition in my culture. We have so many cozy Christmas vibes. I just want to have a nice snowy Christmas with the snowman, the Christmas lights, and actual snow outside. And somebody's warm hand to hold so I don't freeze. I'll show you around the beach as you show me around winter. Deal?
Yeah.
You will must. You will must. Oh, it's not you will must. You will must. Okay. Leave says they've already started decorating and putting up lights here. I'd love it. But it feels so early. It's never too early for Christmas. I feel like when Christmas is in the air, there's a buff that's going on that increases the cheer of people by 30 to 60%. I usually spend Christmas alone. Well, nothing wrong with Yuletide solitude. Litsa says Christmas lights only look lovely outside with some snow around. Yes, you'd be surprised though how nice the Christmas lights are here in the Philippines. Almost all the houses puts them up too. It's such a celebrated occasion that even if you are in the lower strata of financial income, you still find a way to go, put up the decor. Now, where were we? Akairo says, I love the big light up star you hang outside. My tita had one, but I forget the name. That is what you call the Christmas paroles. Parol. Parol. Big old Christmas star with lights inside. I have to go. Bye, Gib. See you around, Boop. Thanks for the sub earlier, and you keep us excellent as you are. Man, the paroles, huh? Fond memories. You have a good day, too. It seems Striker is 2 hours away from Reed. Okay. Wouldn't it be nice, especially if we were just 2 hours away from... No, that's not really why. Your folks can come and chase you.
Yeah.
Man, we're 10 minutes away from our destination. So quick. So, chat, let me ask you, did you enjoy a little night drive? It's the first time, so I would appreciate your feedback on it. I know you're used to me usually being indoors by the Resta Bar with Chef or by District Roboto, mingling with the bots, or simply being by the campfire. So, what are your thoughts in making this a regular thing? Conversations behind the wheel, rain, wipers, a long stretched road.
and fortune too. That book would be like my heart and me, dedicated to you. If I should paint a picture too that showed the loveliness of you, my art would be like my heart and me, dedicated to you, because your love is the beacon that lights up my way. To you, because with you I know a lifetime could be just one
Muted.
heavenly day.
Give him a moment, chat. Just give him a moment, okay?
A twinkling star, one half so wondrous as you are. That star would be like my heart and me, dedicated to you.
You know, chat, I have a feeling. There we go. I have a feeling my mic isn't fully charging because it's connected to my USB port on my computer. Instead of being, well, charging from the output as it should, so it only charges to like 30% of what it should be. But hey, we're back. Yeah. So we're gonna solve that later.
Later.
Man, if you can see my computer and realize just how much stuff is plugged in, you'd be surprised. One, I need. Okay, let's go break it down. One tracker for my headset, two for my chest and my waist. So that's three. One for each arm, that's five. One for each thigh, that's seven. One for each foot, that's nine. So that's 9 USB ports. And then two for the controllers, so that's 11. And then another one for my mic, that's 12. Oh wow, okay. That's just for my VR alone. I'm gonna head out now, says Akairo. Wish you a good stream. See you around. We're almost at our destination too, so we probably have to go soon. It's gonna have a good peek at. Yes. Gab, do you still have the tracker batteries? But when they ran out, you need to charge. No, I'm using Vive trackers now. They run out in 6.5 hours. It sucks. I'm still waiting on Jelly VR. Jelly, if you're watching this, I'm still waiting on Jelly VR shipment to arrive. It's been over 2 months because it went to Philippine customs. Horrible. I should have just paid the extra. Oh, yes. For you to use DHL or something more reputable. I want McDonald's too. And Cameron wants McD's. I will each give you the free french fries that comes in the little container. It's all yours. You can have it, including the soft drinks. I'll be eating the burger though. Nuggies. Oh, nuggies. Sounds good. You know, it's weird. I remember there being vegans. I have nothing against vegans, right? I love vegetables as much as you guys do. I I've seen some vegans have this campaign where they try to scare a bunch of children to not eat chicken nuggets by showing them the process of how it's made. So they saw the chickens being turned into pink paste, and then they asked the kids, "So kids, do we still want nuggets?" And they all said yes. They still like the nuggets. It's so funny. It's so funny. The visible disappointment in the face of the guy was so entertaining. Like, come on, if somebody likes a certain food, don't tell them off. Food is a basic thing for every living being.
Yeah.
Let them eat what they
I
want to
mean,
eat.
heck, even things die because things need to eat. There's nothing wrong with that. Someone wanting to have meat in their diet.
Exactly. Life and death, slaughter, meat, hunt, it's all part of the natural circle of life. It's just that we modernize it. We now have farms and whatnot. Look, if you want to put food in your belly, something has to die. Accept it. Be it animal or plant matter. So don't make a big fuss about it. Cameron says, I saw a Photoshop pic like 10 to 15 years ago of a lettuce shaped like a daisy. I saw that exact same photo. I know what you're talking about. A good friend of mine is a vegetarian. I still tease him so much about it and call him vegan. I tease my friends about all sorts of things. You have a butt.
Yes, but he knows how to take teasing back, like the fact that he's a lizard.
Pisala says, we are the apex predators of the planet, so we have dibs on the Alright! God, I just love my steak when it's like mildly dripping in blood. The blue rare kind. To be fair, I need to pat dry it. I'm just joking. I don't like the bloody parts. My point is, I like it fresh and as close to raw as possible, with the outside being seared. Some people see eating meat as an abominable act. I feel bad for them. Gosh, imagine somebody telling you off from drinking orange juice because you had to squeeze those oranges alive and you're drinking their blood. The atrocity. Like, it's orange juice.
Plus, the human body needs protein somehow.
Yep. It's odd if you think about it. The hardcore vegans. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being vegan again, but they're like the ones who actively protest and like picket the restaurants and disrupt public order. I guess they go vegan because it's ethical to eat food like greens. So what you want is to be able to butcher a living being that has no mouth, that can't scream, or eyes that can tear up. And it's fine with you. As long as you don't see the murder in their face, you'd eat it. Isn't that twisted in a way? Hello, Nord. Greetings. I'm glad you and your I'm glad you're here. We're just having a little bit of a drive. I know there's some hardcore vegans out there that's going to argue with me, and I'm just gonna say yes. Whatever you believe in, cool, you win. I'm good. I'll eat my meat. Now, what was the conversation about? How I like meat and how some vegans are really hardcore. Hardcore in a bad way. Imagine, you're out on a Saturday, you reserve the day just to be with a particular special someone, and then you're enjoying the finest steaks in the town. Then all of a sudden you have these protesters saying, "Oh, your meat's unethical, don't eat there," and they're ruining your day. You don't know who they are, but they're there to crap on you because you're eating meat. Can they bother someone else? I also don't understand the whole climate change activists. You know those orange vest people? How they block the roads or glue their hands to it? What if you're blocking somebody who needs to go to the hospital? What if you're blocking a husband delivering a wife's child? Right? Like a wife having a child. All sorts of things. Have you used this thing in top of your neck called the brain?
I mean, I've seen vegan protesters literally fight an old man trying to push his cart through an aisle.
Oh my god, it's that bad out there. Listen, radicals under any banner or ideology is bad. Because they see things in black and white. I know Halloween already happened, says Cameron, but how do you defeat a vegan vampire? Stake through the heart. Yay! Okay, Cameron, please take your seat. Next. Yeah, as long as you don't bother me, you can do whatever the heck you want. Eat whatever you want, don't eat whatever you want, pray to whoever you want. Just don't bother me about it. Or the things I consume and attend to. And we're good. Don't force me to see things in your views because I'm not doing the same to you. Right? It's so simple.
Heck, I even have to take the careful approach because I'm a cashier during the weekends, right? So whenever a customer will ask me my views on a certain political thing or they have a political shirt, I don't say
Yeah.
anything. It's just let's keep politics out of the grocery shopping, okay?
100%.
My job's to make the end of
100%.
your trip pleasant.
Yeah. Precisely. And you're gonna get in trouble if you like do this and that and some
Yeah, I mean, one wrong gripe from a customer, they fire me, you know?
Yep.
So keep things neutral. Treat them with respect. If
Exactly.
they don't treat you with respect back, just grit your teeth, get through it.
Here's the thing. Some people, if they don't see you seeing the way things they see, they will not respect you. They don't respect the fact that you have a different opinion on things. Like, it's so simple. What I've seen before me is color blue, and you want me to believe it's color red because it's saying that it's color red. You're forcing me to call something that I can clearly see is not something. Or you can just believe that it's color red and you can leave me alone that I can confirm it's color blue and we're good, right? It's so simple. Unless there are edge cases where you're colorblind, like Beth, for example. Just keep to yourselves. I am not a big fan of the vocal minority or whatever that is. Ugh, it's nothing but trouble, really. Lucky you guys get to see colors. What, are you colorblind? I can see our stop right ahead. In the next minute, we're gonna have to skedaddly do soon. But we have some games to play, don't we?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Food to eat first beforehand, though.
Of course, yes. Just gonna go eat. Oh, Fluffy is online. I wonder what Fluffy is doing. I'll be playing as the two-headed snake. Fixing normals. No snake. It's a black mamba. It's anyway. Alright. Normals is not my strong suit. Also, I need to suggest to Axel, no, remind him to put nostrils, unless he's really going for the Voldemort look.
Boy who came to believed has come to die.
Yeah. Oh, I can taste colors. How do furries with tails drive cars? Most furniture I see are designed with little cutouts. Special seats with holes. Yeah, that's it. Have you ever seen a wooden chair when then the backrest is just on the upper part and there's just a big rectangle below?
I mean, or if you have a smaller tail, you can just wrap it around your body a little bit.
True. Wear it like a belt. Like those Saiyans do. Damn monkeys. I'm just unplug your tail and put it in the trunk. I don't think a lot of us are like you, Wask. Or you can just your tail. Like Axel's tail, yeah, it was being held by the bat. It was just
as much as
plugged.
as much as I like to joke that Geb's a lizard, he's not. He's not. He can't drop his tail. That's why it's right next to me.
Yeah, do you see this? Do you see my long thing on Vesper's lap? That's my tail. And unlike most lizards, I cannot just... And then it's gonna detach in quite a painful fashion. And wriggle to distract.
Hydragea.
Hydragea. Huh. Okay. This can hold onto it in case you go out flying. That's when my tail detaches from my body. If Vesper just holds on to this, right, while my body decides to dislodge itself from the car, this is the only thing that's gonna remain. I mean, I don't want to go flying through the windshield anytime soon, but it's a big
No.
hypothetical. Mhm.
If it popped off, he'd be off balance.
Oh, that's true. I sometimes sit on it, chat. It's my porta stool, aside from my portable stool.
I mean, anatomy-wise, it's your spine.
Yes, it's my spine. Oh wow, okay. Okay, the guy who raided us earlier, Max Fluffy, has quite an interesting portfolio. I'm surprised he brought his chat to me, of all people. I'm seeing lots of socks and rainbow colors, pinks and whites. Non-TOS stuff that is publicly available. Alright, close. Let's close the tab. Yeah. Anyway. Chat! As lovely as I wanna extend, I gotta skedaddly do that. Let's see if they can return the favor to somebody else.
Completely.
Damn. Alright, let's see the top row. Really? I'm on the second row? Oh, that's new. Wow, there's an avatar that reminds me of Lit here. Except it's got so many viewers. Quick, we need to be okay. All right. So, chat, thanks for joining us. We're about to go drop off. We're at our destination. Vesper, you wanna start by saying the goodbyes?
All right. Bye, chat. Stay safe, stay hydrated, shower, and make sure to sleep plenty. Bye-bye.
It's a bidet, chat. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. Most of all. Well, good night. I'll see you again day after tomorrow. This has been lovely. Definitely gonna be doing this regularly. So yes, see you, chat. You keep being awesome.